I just want to start off by saying that no, we Canadians, at least 99.999% of us, do not live in igloos. It does snow a lot here in Canada and it is very cold and we do get lots of ice buildup, but we live in normal houses just like everyone else around the world. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a video about Canada. So I'm actually Danish. I was born in Denmark, but I moved to Canada when I was 5 years old and I've basically been here ever since. So I'm also basically a Canadian. So I thought it might be fun to make this video. And keep in mind, Canada is a huge, huge country. So throughout the country we have different provinces, and honestly in every province it almost seems like they have their own culture. Almost seems like it's their own country. So I live in Alberta, so that's the western part of Canada. So I'm going to assume that a lot of these Canadian things that I think is Canadian is primarily in this area of Canada. So keep that in mind. So whether you're from Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, we're all Canadian. And this video is for you. And yeah, the cool thing about Canada is that we have a lot of different ethnicities here. So we have people from Europe here, people from Africa, people from South America, Middle East, Asia, everywhere. So we have a lot of different cultures going around, which is really cool. So sometimes it makes it a little difficult to figure out what is Canadian culture, just because we have so many different ones. But these are the ones that I kind of think represent us Canadians. The first thing I would say that's very Canadian, if you want to look or act Canadian, is embracing ice or winter sports. So those can range anywhere from skating on like ice skating, which is one of my favorite things to do. I love ice skating. And I actually went to Lake Louise recently with my husband and we went skating there and it was so beautiful, so magical. It felt like I was in a snow globe. We're skating right now. There's Christian. It's really, really pretty out here. Whew. Once you get the hang of it, then it's not so hard. I was so much better when I was younger though, gosh. So yeah, skating is something you could do. We could also do ice hockey. Hockey is a huge sport here in Canada. You can go snowboarding, that's really fun, especially during the winter time. Well, I guess that's the only time you can go snowboarding. That's really, really Canadian. Or skiing. You can go cross-country skiing, you can go, I don't know the technical name for it, but it's like these, they look like these paddles that you put on your bottom of your feet. I'll insert a picture, but that's pretty Canadian, you can do that. Just going like sledding down the slopes, building snowmans. Anything like sporty outside in the winter, that's a very Canadian thing. Another thing to do if you want to be a Canadian is to really embrace the outdoors or the nature. So here where I live, I have the Rocky Mountains and that's about an hour away from where I live and it's so beautiful there. So just going out and going for a hike, just going out and having a picnic, but just being out in nature, that's a very, very Canadian thing to do. The next thing, if you want to look kind of Canadian, would be to embrace Canada's oldest fashion brand. So that is called the Hudson Bay Company, and it's based on the Hudson Bay in Canada. And it's a really, really nice clothing line. They also have home decor and things like that, but they're known for the red and green, yellow kind of striped pattern. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty expensive brand. But I did find a similar sweater that looks exactly like the Hudson Bay sweaters, and I got mine from Urban Outfitters for like literally a quarter of the price. But when I wore this sweater, I felt so Canadian, so traditional, and really stylish at the same time. So if you want to look Canadian, shop at the Bay or even like Roots Canada. It's a very Canadian brand. Another thing to do is eat Canadian food. There's tons of it, right? Like maple syrup, pancakes, all those things. But I think of Canadian, when I think of Canada, I think of eating like burgers, beef burgers, you know, pork, things like that, and french fries, poutines. So definitely have a burger. to go to Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is kind of like our, I don't know, fast food version of a cafe, and you can get donuts there, you can get coffee, get tea, bagels. Definitely go to Tim Hortons. Hello! Can I get a medium Thai tea with 1 cream, 1 sugar?
Okay, anything else?
And what kind of donuts do you have right now?
I have apple fritter, Boston cream, tiramisu, chocolate dip, vanilla dip, honey cooler, honey dip, chocolate glaze, and sarcasm fruits.
I'll try the tiramisu chocolate donut.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, grab ahead.
Okay, thanks. Another thing to be Canadian is to kind of like talk like us. So I feel like we have a bit of an accent compared to other people who speak English around the world, but there's tons of sayings we say. One of the things that we say a lot is sorry. Like when you just walk in to some place and you open the door and someone else is there, everyone's like sorry, sorry. Like everyone says sorry. It's kind of funny actually. Even when you're not really sorry, you still say sorry.
So what's something that Canadians say quite often?
We like to say a a lot. Like it's warm out today, eh? Things like that. And we like to say, what else do we like to say?
Toque?
Yeah, we say toque. We don't say beanie. These are toques. And we spell things differently than in the States. Like the words are spelled a little differently. Like the word color spelled differently. But we just say a lot of like weird things like, yeah man, and like, how's it going? Yeah, actually. For real? Okay, goodbye. Another thing is because Canada, I would say a large part of Canada is very cold, for at least half of the year, I would invest in a big fur or just a really thick jacket and a hat. It's gonna keep you warm. I think it's really important to have a really thick jacket in Canada. So if you're a true Canadian, you will have a good pair of boots in your closet, a big jacket, lots of scarves, big hat, and in my case I really like to have fur or faux fur coats, and the one I'm wearing right here looks very like Russian. I really like that. And the last thing I would say is you can be any culture and be a Canadian. So for instance, I'm Danish ethnicity, but I'm also Canadian because I live here. My husband's ethnicity is Latino, but you know what? He's also Canadian because he was born here and he lives here. So you can be any ethnicity around the world and still be Canadian. It's very multicultural, and that's a major thing I would notice when I walk around Canada. You see basically all types of people here, so that's pretty Canadian. And lastly, I definitely think if you have a native reserve nearby, go and check out their cultural center. We have one nearby here called the Tessina Nation, and I was there as a kid on a school trip, and I got to see like the teepees and all those kind of things, and I thought it was really cool, and like how they used to make their fur jackets out of like cowhide and all these things. That was really cool. That's also very Canadian because obviously the Indigenous people here have been here the longest in Canada. So yeah, that was just a few of my little ways to associate Canada in my day-to-day life. There's a lot more, of course, but those are just a few tips if you want to embrace Canadian style or way of living. And let me know in the comments down below, if you're from Canada, what are other things that we as Canadians do or how we dress. Let me know what I missed. And if you're not from Canada, what is your perceptions of Canadians? I'd like to know that. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a big thumbs up. And I'll also leave my social medias down below. I would love it if you followed me on Instagram. I post a lot of fashion pictures there. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye from Canada.